One Piece chapter 1089, and I have to say that this is the best that One Piece has ever been for a while now. I mean, Egghead has just been delivering and delivering fire upon fire. At this point, this arc has to be at least top 5 in the story because it is absolutely insane. And the funny thing is, every time we stray away from the Straw Hat, the story just gets magically better because the world is just too big to be focused solely on the Straw Hats. And so once we get out there into the world beyond the Straw Hats, the experience is amazing, and that's what we're going through with Egghead right now. And of course, this chapter is no exception because Kobe just had one of his greatest moments, if not his greatest moment in the series, and it is building up towards something even bigger. Now, before we keep going, guys, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video, subscribe if you're new here, and hit the bell if you want to get notified for more content on this channel. Now, first things first, it seems that Kobe has unlocked a new form of hockey. And before I keep going, I do want to say that I have never doubted Kobe. Now, I know in the previous chapter there were moments where Kobe was holding Garp back, which in turn eventually ends up with Garp getting stabbed, and of course this outraged the community in some sense. You know, people were calling Kobe a bum, all of these words, right? And you could tell that Oda was trying to build something up for Kobe here, and Garp potentially being that sacrificial push for Kobe to grow. And obviously we see the end result in this chapter, in which Garp tells them to do something and that sometimes decision has to be made on the fly. And of course this situation makes a lot of sense given how hockey blooms in desperate times, and given the push that he got from Garp, as well as knowing that if he doesn't stop this attack, a lot of people might die here and all of his comrades on the ship might get blown off. He awakened his newfound power. And judging from what we can see in this chapter, it's one of two things. It's either Advanced Conquerors or it is Rio. Now, personally, I think it's Advanced Conquerors because of how devastating the attack was. It was actually more powerful than Garp's Galaxy Impact, as well as the Galaxy Divide that Garp used in this chapter. And again, in both attacks, Garp did use Advanced Conquerors, but Kobe's attack seemingly did more damage than both of those attacks. So it could only lead you to the idea that this is more than likely Advanced Conquerors hockey. And this is extremely massive for Kobe, game changing for him, because he has attained an ability that Kaido states that only the strongest possess, and he is only a Marine captain. And again, we've known that Kobe has had a very fast growth rate, but what he did here is honestly Luffy levels of talent. And it seems like he had an inkling on what to do before he even did the attack, which gives me the idea that this was something that he was already working on. And of course, in this moment, in this desperate situation, it finally bloomed. And this is honestly a massive progression for Kobe, because once you unlock an ability like this, it becomes natural for you as you progress towards becoming stronger. Now, is there a possibility that this could be Rio as well? Now, it is still very possible. It's just that we have never seen Rio being used on a scale like this before. And the only other ability that's able to do this sort of damage is Advanced Conquerors. We haven't seen people use Rio to blow off mountains and stuff like this. This is the first time we've ever seen Rio being used like this. So it leads us to believe that this is more than likely Advanced Conquerors. And for the most part, Advanced Conquerors does take concepts from Rio. So it's not like these two abilities aren't actually related. They're actually more intertwined than a lot of people think. And again, a lot of people felt like Kobe was falling way too behind on Luffy, but with this Advanced Conquerors, it definitely pushes him by a lot now. Obviously not Luffy level, but we're finally getting somewhere with Kobe. I will also say that Groose was very impressive as well. Given his introduction earlier in this arc, he did have a pretty cool ability as well. And here we're seeing that his manipulation is somewhat on Doflamingo's level, in terms of skill at least, because he was able to grab all the rubble that was falling down and catch it. And again, this giant hand is massive. So it seems like Oda is focusing on these three, Helmeppo, Groose, and Kobe, somewhat being the future of the Marines and the leaders, the future leaders of the Marines. And this is somewhat their story starting. Now, moving on to Garp. In this chapter, we do get a semblance as to Garp's justice. And his justice seems to focus on the future. And we're sort of seeing Kobe being influenced by that in some way, shape, or form. Because Garp tells him if one baby and one old man get stranded on an island and you have a boat that can only hold 2 people, who would you save? And Kobe says he would get down from the boat and save the old man and the baby. But Garp tells him that he's wrong, that the old man doesn't have much time left anyway, so you just let him die. And that the whole purpose of becoming a Marine is to protect people's futures, because the baby and Kobe have more of a future than the old man, and so they must push on forward. And he also states that the future of young people is limitless. And again, with Garp, it seems that his focus is the future, which is very interesting and is a concept that I do really like as well. And again, Kobe seems to be following this idea, because we do see that in Amazon Lily, after the whole Blackbeard incident, it seemed that Blackbeard wanted to take 800 Marines and the ship with him. And the reason how Kobe got involved is because he offered himself to them in place of the 800 Marines, because he is prioritizing the future more so than anything else. And again, I think this ideology is something that Kobe is going to be very influenced by, and will be an element to how he forms his own justice. So Garp already laid the foundations for him. Now, of course, everything that happened here didn't happen without sacrifices, and of course Garp happened to be the sacrificial lamb that everyone expected, right? And again, he prioritized the future of the Marines above himself, because he understands the value of the future. And of course, at the end of the chapter, we see that he's been overwhelmed by the Blackbeard pirates, particularly Kuzan, and we see that he has like an ice spear stabbed through his body. And again, given that he's a D, of course, in situations like this where they're faced with death, they always smile, and that's what we see here with Garp. I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of sad seeing Garp like this, because it sort of reminded me of Whitebeard during Marineford, and how sad that situation was as well. So this was, I feel like this was an emotional moment. Definitely the anime is gonna take liberties doing this, because I feel like this scene here is pretty powerful. Of course, it wasn't as brutal as Whitebeard, but again, seeing Garp all messed up by the Blackbeard pirates of all people is definitely sad. And you could also tell that Kuzan was also going through the same thing, because again, this was his former mentor, so it makes sense that this was not a situation that he wanted. And even in the previous chapters, it was stated or hinted that Kuzan was wavering because he was fighting Garp, right? He wasn't his usual self because of the connection that he has to Garp, even though he was putting that front up, right? Garp was able to realize this. Now, obviously, the big question now is Garp dead? Obviously, no, because there's much more value of having Garp alive than dead. First of all, he's not a devil fruit user, so he's not something that the Blackbeard pirates are actively wanting. But we do know that he has a massive bounty on his head. So this is something that the Blackbeard pirates may be willing to exploit, given that they're going to need money for their future ventures. So again, I don't think Garp is dead. We're going to see him again, and maybe we might see some things with him and Aokiji, right? Maybe in the cell they have a talk about history, past, you know, there's a lot that can go in here. Again, Garp is a very old Marine, and he is very knowledgeable about a lot of things that happened in the past, things that obviously we are not privy to. So we could see that here with Aokiji, and of course individuals like Blackbeard once they do have a conversation. Now, at the end of the chapter, we do get some brief news on what is happening on Egghead, and it doesn't seem like the situation has changed yet, because it seems like the Marines have just arrived. And it also states in the newspaper that Yonko Straw Hat Luffy is taking Egghead as his stronghold. Now, how that news came about, we aren't entirely sure yet, but we do know that something world-changing is about to happen on this island. We also have to include the fact that one of the Blackbeard pirates is also here, and we don't know how that's going to affect things. But again, given that we've dealt with the situation at Hachinosu, the only thing that's remaining is Egghead. And I'm hoping Oda is saving the best reveals for last, because whatever is happening here or is going to happen should be mind-boggling. So definitely can't wait to see that. But that is pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Comment down below what you guys think. Subscribe if you're new here, and hit the bell if you want to get notified for more content. You can follow me on Twitter at Ferrospace, but it is Ferro, and I will see you folks later. Peace.